Good morning to you all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. And I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for being here. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I know it's snowing across, half of the United States right now. It's, it left a mess up in the Northeast. So, it might have a little impact on current events as we speak. But again, thank you all for being here. I see you all in the chat. Eddie West, Matt O'Brien, Terry Murnane's always here. So if you're watching us on YouTube right now, streaming live on the Sal Greco Show YouTube channel, please hit that like button, the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button as well. I mean, there it is. The illustrious mayor of New York City, Mayor Mamdani, doing the social media. This right here is just, folks, this is another layer. You know who else used to do this? Another guy we'll get to later on in the show, Kaz Daughtry, the deputy mayor of clout chasing on social media. This is just for clout chasing purposes. The mayor shoveling. I mean, he had a whole camera crew. I don't know what that was about, but make sure that the city's functioning. In fact, when you have your press conference in regard to snow emergencies, Mr. Mayor, where's the police commissioner? Where's the representative for the New York City Police Department? I mean, look, this is a camera op. This is all for social media clout. I thought this guy would do better things. I mean, you're the mayor now. You're not running for anything, dude. I mean, really. I don't know. Is he trying to relate to average New Yorkers? Because that's not how you're going to do it. They're going to say you're showboating or whatever you're doing, man. Well, that's what's going on up there in New York City with Mayor Mamdani. If you're watching on Rumble, on the Sal Greco Show Rumble channel, please hit that like button, hit the follow button, and also try to share it out on Rumble. I know a lot of people on Rumble. One person in particular, I believe, is always in the chat. So if you can, let's get the Rumble channel going as well. And if you're watching us on X right now, at the Sal Greco on my X handle, please like this, share it out. Also, don't forget to follow me on X and share this with all your friends, especially those in the low information bubble, because, I mean, there's a lot of low information people. I can tell you a lot of things I'm going to get to in a little bit here. But the theme of the show today is how a political agenda, it's just everything's driven by politics. It's really separating this country. Also, law enforcement agencies as well. But I can tell you that even though it's dividing things, there's also underlining scandals and controversy in these very agencies as well. I'll get to it later on. I mean, you heard about Kaz Daughtry's new, I guess Kaz Daughtry is now in Homeland Security. We have Homeland Security having their own issues as well with what we saw this weekend. And, of course, the New York City Police Department, the largest of all the law enforcement agencies in the world, they have their own issues, right? I mean, there's numerous scandals. Just last week, before the week ended on Friday, which I suggest you do follow the Sal Greco Show on Rumble, on Instagram, on TikTok. And, there's a couple of incidents that occurred that were scandalous, to say the least, And I believe we're going to get into that, but these are things that are underneath all the issues that occurred over the weekend here. So I see Frank Bresch in the comments. Zoran's a failed rapper. He thinks his job is to make videos just like Kaz Daughtry. Yeah, dude, I don't know, man. Making videos when you're the mayor, you're not running a campaign anymore, man. This is you are the mayor. And you got to be a lot more serious than that. I understand, you want to relate to the people, but I have no idea. I have no idea what that was about again. So, guys, it is snowing. You saw that a lot of all the items were taken from numerous stores, especially up and down in the Northeast part of the country. So why shop going to these stores and having to go with your family? It's a 40-minute ordeal. You're chasing your kids around. You're chasing your significant other. Go here, go there. Go to myfreedomcard.com/The Sal Greco Show. You can shop with Patriots and also just shop from your desk with your computer or on your phone. It just would be a lot easier. And of course, you'd be supporting people that support law enforcement, public safety, fire department, sanitation, all the local municipalities. These are people that want to help them and donate to them and help them get, let's say, a new firehouse up around the United States, not New York City in particular, but other parts of the country. So myfreedomcard.com/the Sal Greco Show. And then, of course, I don't search through regular search engines because I don't want biased news and biased headlines. So I use Free Spoke, and this is why I believe you should too. I know you surf the internet and you search for things on a search engine and you don't get what you're looking for. Well, I have a solution for you, and that's Free Spoke. Free Spoke is a search engine that does everything without all the restrictions and all the censorship, and there's no porn ads. Free Spoke is about authenticity rather than agendas. Labels media bias, no intrusions or data leaks. No porn ads, like I said, unlimited, unbiased AI. Also, deep dive podcasting. You can look it up. Go to freespoke.app.link/Greco. Download the app. You could also use the same link to get 35% off the premium subscription, which would be well worth it. Try it out. freespoke.app.link/Greco. And folks, Greco 35 to get your 35% discount on a subscription. And of course, using this, you can go either left-leaning or right-leaning, but you're not going to have them shove headlines the way they want down your throat like other search engines. So Free Spoke, Greco 35, get your 35% subscription on that. You know, I had this comment here. This is hysterical. Lone silence are the most hilarious thing is seeing multiple stores cleared of water except for Dasani. As those were left untouched, that brand has to be the most hated, LOL. It's funny. I actually was doing something over the weekend, and while I was there was a huge tub of Dasani water, and that's all we had. But it was still a huge tub at the end of the day into the next day. And it's refrigerated as well. So I think you might have a point there. That's funny, though. But there was an incident this weekend, and I'm going to play it that happened in Minnesota. So let's just see this. I'm going to take a little bit of don't want to play this with any sound, but let's play this video. As you can see, there's an incident here with ICE. And I guess someone I guess he's a protester that was armed, apparently. And here they are gathering around him. I don't know where the handcuffs are. I don't know why they would be surrounding someone like this and not trying to arrest them for whatever the case is. You have another person there, and then there's the shots. And then this person, unfortunately, perished on the scene. So yet another incident with ICE, another incident in Minnesota. You know, and if you watch this closely, I understand this person was carrying a fire. Now, I don't know if he had the right to carry, meaning he's a licensed firearm. He's a licensed, holder. Everyone, you do know there's a Second Amendment in this country as well. And I know these people are protesting all over the place because should ICE really be running around doing this constantly? I mean, I don't know if they're talking about Trump pulling the Insurrection Act. And it really has put a town, by the way, that town in Minneapolis has about 600 cops because, as you know, they were the poster child of defunding the police many years ago with George Floyd and all that went on in the Summer of Love. So they have their hands full with regular protesting. So these kind of protesters, and by the way, there was a whole flood. I'm going to get to this right after this. There's a flood of people protesting, and it's very hard for a city that's as small as this to handle this. Look, is ICE, there's no police helping them. If there is, it's very minor. I don't even know if you have the personnel to handle this. And these people, I mean, look at this crazy stuff. Look what they're doing out here. Are they pointing a pepper ball gun at these people? I mean, people, are they going into these hotels? I mean, this is like one side is pushing the other. And you know what we don't see? Nobody's trying to taper down the temperature yet. I haven't seen that yet. I don't see anyone from either side of the aisle, left or right. So coming on to discuss this, I thought, who else better than a friend of the show's who's actually taken a lot of guns off the street. He retired from the NYPD. And also, when we get to the NYPD, he'd be a perfect person to comment and give his opinion on a lot of things. So coming up to the stage, none other than retired Lieutenant Joel Ramirez, who also goes by LT_Ramirez on X. Joel, how are you doing, man? Good morning.
Good morning, Sal. Good morning, everyone.
So I thought, how many times have you been in the street? How many guns have you taken off perpetrators? How many times have you done that?
Well, numerous times. But let's go back to this. Let's focus on this incident, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at it from different optics. I'm gonna look at it from a law enforcement optics. I'm gonna look at it from a civilian optics, and then actually, none of our opinions matter except whatever the investigation comes out to be. But when we're looking at this video, the entirety of this video or of this video, but the video that's circulating through the social media shows I guess they're standing there. I don't know why he's standing there with his cameras out. I guess he already knew. They give him the heads up that there was an ICE raid about to happen and he wanted to record him. A young lady or some other lady that was there beside him ends up getting pushed to the floor.
Which was yeah, I saw that. There was someone on the side that was also being, but before you even get that, right, Joel, don't people have a right to film?
Yes, it's the First Amendment.
Okay. So if you have the right to film, why would these guys go over to these people and get in their face to tell them you can't film, whatever? I've seen a lot of videos like this, Joel. It really, I don't think they have any training in this, if you ask me.
Okay. So if we look at the training that these guys are getting now, and I don't blame none of the ICE agents, and it's easy to blame them because they are political pawns, as NYPD cops are political pawns. And the sad part is that these, I hope not. I hope, but I can't control what's going on. In Minnesota, they're probably going to end up arresting these guys. But there is kind of laws where if you do bring them up for trying to arrest these agents, you're gonna have to bring them. You have to refer with the federal, I believe, with the feds before you end up proceeding. Now they fall under like a supremacy clause. I think that's what they're protected under. Where if they're act on their duties, they won't be liable. Now, but it says there's limitations. The states has a limitation against it too, where if an ICE agent uses excessive force, as we're gonna assume from our view on in this video, was it excessive force? As a civilian, as someone else, I think they're gonna be like, yeah, this is excessive force. Now, as a police officer, now the problem why I say what happened here was bad is because there was no communication within the officers in that scene. Now, I don't know you, Sal. I don't know you. I don't know my partners. I don't know. We just met up at a hotel and we're out there doing enforcement. I'm assuming that's what's happening, right? So we're going out there. We come in contact with an individual with a gun, and you can see one agent removes the gun from his waistband, right? But then you have other people there that screaming gun, gun, gun.
Yeah.
And the first thing, and it happens. It does happen even in the streets. But when we say gun, like I say, hey, he had a gun in his hand, or he got a gun in his waistband, like we're already given location of the gun, or if he's possessing the gun. So we know what's our next course of action in that moment. Now, in that moment, you can see an agent remove the gun. Did he say he removed the gun? He says, I got the gun. Did he say it? No, we don't know because the video doesn't show that much, or it doesn't have that much audio. But it's clearly the gun is being removed from this individual, and he does have a license to carry in that state. So he is a gun holder. He is a licensed gun holder. Now, I can see the media or I think Cash Patel is saying, hey, you shouldn't be out there practicing your First Amendment while you practicing your Second Amendment. Now that's crazy. Now we're putting laws on. Now we're putting new restrictions on when should we practice our amendments, right? And that's going to be another situation where it's all good and dandy now, and anyone that can come to agreement with this nonsense right now is not going to like it when the next party's in charge and they do the same thing plus worse, and they're going to use it against us. Now, as a police officer, I'm looking at that and I think they fail to communicate with each other, and even the shooting is disturbing. But I'm not gonna Monday night quarterback it. I'm not there. If he heard a gun and he thought that his life was in danger, then he shot this man for whatever reason. But in that video, surely looks clear that that gun was removed and no one was in threat there. And that's the situation that's gonna happen now. Now, will he be left out to hang? Probably, probably. And
This one,
three.
see this comment from Eric Sanders in the chat.
Yeah,
Actually, I
yeah,
wanted to ask you this one. Barnes versus Felix, which is Supreme Court. These ICE agents are way outside their constitutional jurisdiction, which, as you know, uh,
yes,
Joel,
yeah,
eh,
yeah.
by law, they are not supposed to be 100 miles away off the border. So
Right,
being in these towns, you have to follow the laws of the city.
right,
Okay. I mean, here it is. Barnes versus Felix, U.S. Supreme Court unanimously ruled that courts must evaluate police use of force claims using the totality of the circumstances test, rejecting the narrow moment of threat doctrine used by some lower courts. So the totality of the circumstances with that. My problem here will be, now I remember that first incident. All right. And I said that guy won't get charged or whatever. He might, but I don't think, I'm telling you, it's very political. The first shooting where that woman perished and tried to run the ICE agent over with the car. Here, it looks like this guy is already on his back, right? Oh, he's on his knees. Someone went for the gun starts to fall out of wherever it is, his waistband, wherever it is. And okay, I don't know if they were trying to handcuff. I don't know. That's what I'm not saying. I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking here, but gun seems to fall out of his waistband. If you're trained like we are in police department as cops, someone has to try to handcuff this gentleman. If you are trying to do that, someone would have seen the gun and grabbed it as it falls out, of course. I don't know where the training says to then start. He doesn't have the access to take this gun and shoot you, because if your hands are behind your back, where are you going? That's
right.
the point of handcuffing him. Then you fire, and it was, as it stated, 10 shots fired at this person. I don't know. Does the totality of circumstances tell you that's a good shoot or a bad shoot? Because I'm sure if this gets to a court somewhere, I'm
No,
sure there's not going to be so many people saying it's such a outstanding job was done there.
yeah. Even the last agent that I guess when he was laying on his back and he put a couple of rounds on him, that looks worse.
Yeah,
That looks worse. That looks worse. There's no gun in his hand. There's no gun visual, and you just kept putting rounds in him. But their argument is gonna be like, "Yo, I heard gun and I reacted on it." They're gonna be their argument, and it's very hard because like I said, I wasn't there, and I wasn't like there has to be some type of leadership within that group to be like, hey, I got the gun. Someone has to say something, some type of communication where there's some type of dialogue within that group that can communicate with each other before there's even erupts to the extent that it did. Now, it's sad. It's sad. And like
oh,
I
it is.
said, they might get hung. And this could take years. This
Yeah,
could take years for the investigation. I'm hearing that DHS is having an issue sharing the information of the investigation to the local police, and that they received a warrant, and they didn't honor the warrant because they don't want to share the investigation documents. That's kind of, what are we trying to hide here? And let's not even go to the narrative that the you know DHS posted, saying that this guy approached him with a firearm. He was aggressively and all this other garbage when he wasn't. We all see the video. You're telling us something that we're looking at a video.
No,
And the best thing for cops, I think, even law enforcement entirely in the country, we need to hold each other accountable. Yes, we can protect each other. I'm not saying not to protect this individual or these individuals, but when the truth is the truth, we can't turn our back on this. Like we have to stand tall. And this is the issue.
yeah, I mean, see here, the Trump administration is waiting for an investigation before sharing conclusions about the January 7th killing of Renee Nicole Good and the January 24th killing of Alex Pretti. Of course, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who absolutely never worked a day as a police officer or an agent anywhere, and the White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, both accused Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse at a VA hospital, of being a domestic terrorist. That is quite a jump. It is jump to say that, okay? And this is what I'm saying. And listen, this is I'm not trying to side one way or the other. I wore that uniform. I can tell you this. From what I'm seeing, I understand someone here in the chat was saying that they didn't have their ID on you. But I want to remind you that, let's say you're walking down the street and you don't have your ID on you. You're not doing anything wrong. Does it matter that you have your ID on you or not? And you are a licensed holder of a carry permit? Shouldn't matter. You're looking at it where, like, you're already assuming that this person did something wrong when really did not. Now, if you're in the police, you might see a bulge. You could say something. I mean, here it's Terry versus Ohio, which would be one of those stop, question, and frisk stops, right? Which is what you would have to follow as an ICE agent. You can then approach this person and say, what's this bulge that you're seeing? Which would have been his gun, right?
Right.
But that's not how this all went down. You understand? You have to follow. I know what people, look, the last 4 years, you had a horrible president. He flooded this place with illegal immigrants everywhere. There is a lot of crime in regards to that. There's gangs, there's all kinds of stuff. But you still have to follow those laws that were put in through, whether it be through court decisions, Supreme Court, whether it's the Constitution. Remember that one? I mean, that's supposed to hold everything, the whole country together. It doesn't matter whether you're ICE, Minnesota, State Trooper, Minneapolis Police Department. You have to follow those things. So I'm seeing already here there's a problem with that. Now, to someone's point here, I think Luffman News was talking about Renee Good, which was that first shooting with the vehicle. I think a lot of people could argue that both ways. I keep saying he will be found justified in that. Whether it's right or wrong, it was so political. She had a car. It's a different instance, whereas with a vehicle, she was, she floored it almost, she actually hit him, even though the tactics were just as bad as what we saw in this. That one is still going to be found justified. Here, I don't know how you're going to try to justify this. I use a totality of circumstances. I know you fire 10 rounds in a guy, and he wasn't even pointing a gun at you. We don't even know. He comes over to you. That people come over to cops all day long. Do we shoot them now? I mean, we'll get into the raccoon thing in a little bit. Really, do you just run around and just do whatever you feel like doing and hope that the public says, yeah, back to blue? That's it. Back to blue with a blindfold. They can do no wrong, because then you don't want to end up being that person that ends up on the floor and is no longer with us, right? Or someone driving their vehicle no longer with us. I'm just giving you all sides of all sides of the aisle before people start rushing to judgment. And I know this administration is very, apparently, very pro law enforcement, so much so that it seems that they forget about laws and constitutional rights at times. But you got to have a medium there. And I know we've had that problem in Minnesota with Derek Chauvin, right? A couple of years ago with George Floyd.
Right.
I mean, there was a whole case with that, and whether people think that was right or wrong. He actually followed his department training. It's crazy how that all went down. And just know that that's what be waiting all these ICE agents with all these incidents. So let's get your final take on this, because then I want to get into the protesters that Then it flips the other way when they go wild after this incident. So what's your final take with all of that? You think he's justified or not? They're going to be found justified or not?
Well, no. I mean, it's like I said, my opinion would be like he's not justified, but who am I? I'm just basically another person looking from out to in. But in this is one scenario that we should all look at as gun owners, right? If your wife gets pushed or your daughter, someone gets pushed to the floor and you stand in front of them and you get pulverized by federal agents, not by ICE agents for trying to protect them, and you can't even explain what the hell is going. You don't even know what's going on. You're just trying to protect them, and now next thing you know, they remove a firearm and shoot you. That's kind of crazy. I mean, you can disagree with what's being said, but at the end of the day, this guy is a licensed gun holder. It ends everything. He doesn't have his license. Okay, that can be verified in the station house.
Correct.
That can be verified later on, but not at any moment he had his gun in his hand. Not at any moment he reached for his gun. That what we can see from that video, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, I wasn't. We can only see what we're allowed to see from 4 different directions, but it doesn't look nice. It doesn't look good, and to me, it's a bad shoot, and I can say it's a bad shoot. And if people can't own it, if people are on in law enforcement can't say that this is a good shoot or a bad shoot, then I don't know what type of law enforcement we are. We have to own it.
When it's good, you applaud. If it's bad, you got to say, and you got to, if you mess up, you got to fess up. You know what I mean? That's the cardinal rule. So I don't think that they're going to be justified in that. If you ask me, it's going to be found excessive to shoot a guy 10 times. But there was 2 comments here. So Luthman News says federal law says felons cannot carry. I don't know. I don't think this guy was a felon, by the way.
He was never arrested.
He was?
He was never.
Okay. It's reasonable to assume, given the Antifa organizers, that there are criminals going to the party, 18 USC 922G. Yes, but this person did not have I'm just saying, doesn't have a record. So that's not going to fall. But here is something important here. Rob 2326. I can tell you that new hire enforcement removal officers are trained for 1 month at FLETC in Georgia. Then they're assigned to fugitive operations and hit the streets. That's scary. You understand? That's very scary.
That's the most scariest part. That's the most scary part because if you look, their training was about 22 weeks to 26, I believe, something like that. Right. And then they took it down to like 48 to 46 days, something like that. So now it's much shorter. So you're training these guys to run around the streets. And like I said, I'm not against the agents itself. The agents, they are law enforcement. They got to do their job. They have to protect and serve. They're assigned to do something, and they're trying to do it to the best of the best they can. But the problem is that the agency itself is failing these individuals. Like we're failing these agents out there in the streets where now, if something goes wrong, like they're not going to own this. The agency is not going to own this. They're going to be like, this officer went rogue or this agent went rogue. They're going to make some bullshit excuse on the side and let them hang. And this is what you're going to feed. You're going to feed the other party.
I'd say it too. So that's as Steven says. Shout out to him. He's always here. So you have condemned the officer for the investigation is complete. Is that fair? No, I haven't condemned him. I'm just telling you that I don't feel that he'll be justified. 10 shots is going to be excessive. It's not going to fly. You can get away with 1. The other one shot 3 times, which is how you're trained. Normally, all law enforcement is trained that way, but now they're telling you. I was told this too. They don't. These officers you're seeing, which are fugitive operations. And they just train them for 1 month online. It's 4-month online course. You need months of. ICE should be training these guys differently, and that's what you're seeing. It's the training that's the problem. They're not coming in trained correctly. I'm just telling you, this is not how the tactics are all wrong. Everybody's surrounding the guy. It's all going to come up when it matters. Right now, you're in the moment, but down the road, you're going to hear about what are you trained to do. How do you train people? Go back and look at all the court cases. That's what ends up happening in court. I know everyone gets emotional, but there's emotions and then there's a reality. And I'm telling you that reality is going to be what I'm telling you, because that's how the courts operate. You know, Rob 2326, again, two different agencies working together under the banner of Homeland Security with different tactics. Border Patrol and ERO, enforcement removal. Good thing, Rob, you're educating people here. I was told this, and I had someone that actually reached out to a friend of mine from Homeland Security. They said exactly this. I just didn't know the exact terminology. Under these, what Rob is saying here, how do you not see what's going on? Now you realize, wait a minute, those aren't the trained guys. They're not who you think they are. They are contracted. They come in and they under this one banner running around doing this kind of stuff, you know? And Eric Sanders here says, this is scary. This is obviously an unjustified shooting. The Trump administration is backpedaling now. And assumptions are not the foundation of legal justification. So, and also, I don't like that the aftermath of this is all kinds of crazy protesting, Joel. No one is trying to say, cut this out. I mean, the governor and the mayor are gaslighting this stuff over there in Minnesota and Minneapolis. Trump is basically justifying anything he sees as long as it's he shouldn't be commenting. There's more Homeland Security. But, they're all just, he's 100% in the right. We need civility here because both sides right now, this is almost at a breaking point, Joel. I mean, you agree or disagree? I mean, I just showed a video to protest. They're crazy.
I agree. I mean, where's local police department at? Where the local cops at? I mean, it seems like something needs to. There needs to be a buffer. There needs to be a buffer somewhere.
I don't see a cop. That's the other thing. It's not even about cooperating. A cop's supposed to keep the civility in the streets, and they're nowhere to be found in any of this stuff, which is kind of why we're seeing more chaos than it should be. But again, they only have 600 cops total in the town, as you know, Rob, because they were defunded under the whole George Floyd thing. So it's like one mess leads to the next mess that leads to the next mess, and everybody has a problem here. And where is he here? Rob 2326 says border patrol officers go through an intense 6-month academy, and you're hearing it's just 1 month of training online. By the way, I mean, how do you justify this, for Joel? That's the problem I'm having.
Yeah. I mean, they're poorly trained, but we can say they're poorly trained, right? But we don't know if they have prior law enforcement history, right? And just moving over to another agency. We can say that too, but you still need to be properly trained. You're dealing with a different type of work, right? It doesn't. So it's basically saying you're an administrative person, and now they put you in crime, and you don't know what the hell is going on. Like that doesn't make any sense. You got to be properly trained. Yeah, you can be put under someone's wing and walk through the entire time, but it seems like no one is that group there, or the groups that are being sent out are all going through the same system at the same time and just telling them, hey, these are your targets. Go extract them and bring them back. This is what we need. And if there's a quota system there, that's going to be later on exposed. I mean, listen, we can blame them now, but we can also blame the previous administration that allowed the millions into our country.
Yep.
Right. Well, I'm not going to defend that either. We allowed them to come into our country. My biggest theory with this whole thing is that they allowed all these people in to take lower level poor people's jobs at lower rates. So people that own these major companies can make money. Now, if you really want to get technical, go look at what Trump is doing also. He's allowing, there's a bill that's about to be passed in the Senate that is doubling the numbers of work visas for HB2, whatever, HB1s for people with some type of skills to come into our country and take our jobs too. But that's the middle class job. Those are white collar jobs that are being taken away from us too. So my biggest thing and my biggest look at this entirely is that at the end of the day, it's all money, and we're trying to cut people from lower level jobs, and we're trying to cut people from middle level jobs, and we're trying to lower the salary, and that's basically it.
Yeah,
but we don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it just keeps going.
And that guy Chief O'Hare over there is another one. This guy's definitely throwing lighter fluid on the fire over there. And you know, Rob, he's great in the comments. Rob 2326, the surge hire brought on a lot of former law enforcement and anyone and everyone from the civilian population. It's a witch's brew of disaster, which I would agree. It's not what you want.
There's a catch-all too to that. It's like a $50,000 signing bonus, I think they give you, but it's a 5-year commitment. So it's not like you just can run away from this. Like you have to commit to 5 years.
Luthman News says the backdrop here is a national immigration emergency. The Trump DOJ should arrest and prosecute Tim and Mayor Frey immediately for obstruction and insurrection. Those guys are lighting they are. They need to, instead of toning it down, they ramping the frenzy up when you should say enough. But they, and again, Eric Sanders says there is such a misunderstanding of the constitutional standards here. It's disheartening. This is how the United States was formed because the people feared the government. That is also true. And yes, Chief O'Hare is married to I guess she's Philadelphia or somewhere else, but she's of Somalian descent, which is also a huge question mark with all of that going on. So I don't know, Joel. I really hope that the temperature calms down with all of this, especially out there. And I would just hope that people go back to their training. I don't know what that means because of all the mishmash in immigration right now and Homeland Security. But this can't go on for much longer like this because the country's going to end up breaking. If you want one of those, whoever they want, you want to see everyone fighting in the street, this is the event that they're going to try to push to make it happen because no one's trying to lower the temperature. That's all I'm saying. Don't let people. There should be cops out there. You know what? Telling people this. All right, slow it down. If they're doing whatever ICE operation, whatever that means. If they're doing that, look, there are always cops on the outer. You know why? Because they would tell these guys, "Hey, step back. You could film from here. You could film from there." These ICE guys are not trained to even know about that stuff. So they're supposed to, but obviously you're hearing about this 1-month course. That's scary. So I know a lot of people. We're not saying they're bad people. I'm not going, I'm not demonizing law enforcement, but you have to be up to date with all your training. Why? Because of things like this. Because who's on the hook? Taxpayers, and also your freedom might come into play with these court cases, Joel. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you go south for any of these agents real quick down the road when these cases come up. It's not today, but it'll be somewhere in the future where they're going to bring this back up, especially if the balance of power switches back to the other party. Just a simple fact I'm throwing out there. Well, what is your last thoughts on that?
No, you're right. You're right. When the power changes, it's over. It's gonna be a different tune. And there'll be people mad on either side or whichever side. But the law's the law. We're gonna go, until the laws change. But I think the Bonds and Felix, I think Sanders brought up, right? But that's the caviar to what's coming next. Now, in that law, it basically states like what was basically the officers, like what was the reason for the stop? Like how did this whole incident happen? Something like that. Like, hey, the stop happens because I did a car stop. I approached him. I asked him for his license. He refused. That all comes to court now. That all comes to play. It doesn't only cuts where you have to shoot him, or you have to enforce or do some type of you have to use lethal force on an individual. Now you have to basically give the whole entire story of the reason to the stop, why you took action, and that. But there's something else in the back end of this. They're gonna say if the officer is now the aggressor, he should be held liable for causing the incident to happen. These are all things that are being played behind in the court system that we don't have no idea. And we could all be pro cops, but understand this. If you go and tell a guy go fuck off and the guy starts cursing at you and now you going back and forth and you push him and he push you and now you start fighting him and you end up shooting him, they're going to look at you as you're the aggressor. Like, think about that bullshit scenario. Like, it could lead down that path. So we have to be very careful how things are going to end up playing out later on. I mean, It's going to be dangerous times.
I agree. I just hope cooler heads prevail, and hopefully we don't see another any more incidents. But again, we'll see what these people do over there as far as who's in charge, because it matters is up top, not the people on the bottom. They follow orders, and then of course that goes sideways. But speaking of following orders, just a couple of days ago, Joel, there was what we call the NYPD Friday fiasco. So let's play this. We'll get into all of this because this was another thing that happened.
New York City Police Department news. In the evening hours of January 22nd, 2026, a Sergeant Howell was operating her motor vehicle coming back from the Holy Name Society Cigar Night event, and unfortunately crashed into another vehicle going the wrong way in the Taconic Parkway in between exits 3 and 4, killing that motorist while she was allegedly DWI. There were numerous agencies that responded. I believe her husband, who's in the NYPD, also responded. The DA has refused to prosecute this case, stating the toxicology reports need to come back. If there's a DWI that occurs with a fatality, it's an automatic arrest just for DWI. And there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with that. And then also we have a Sergeant Tavianen, who apparently was a lieutenant in the 7-7 and allegedly had inappropriate sexual conduct with a confidential informant, who then went to an investigative agency and allegedly has evidence of said encounters. And now this individual is now a sergeant. Quite a mess in the New York City Police Department. And by the way, Soccer Mom, when you go to dinners with certain radio personalities and you have certain people there as unidentified, make sure they return their parking plaque that they took and have never returned, because you have a problem with that also.
So we'll get to all three matters at hand. Number one, so this Sergeant Howell, who there's plenty of articles written. By the way, I broke that first. I was the guy that broke that story. And how do you know this? The press release came about 30 or 40 minutes after this went public on X by yours truly. So what had happened is, and there it is. This is the press release that was given, and actually emailed me too, because I emailed them to find out what was going on with this. So I believe at 11:50, what is it, 11:40 at night, this accident had occurred on a Taconic Parkway. Obviously, Sergeant Howell, who doesn't technically show up as working for the chief of the department, Michael LePetri, but does work for the Michael LePetri. I don't think you understand, people, how this works. She came from the crime control strategies with Michael LePetri. His office is still have the same people that were there when that disgraced chief that's no longer there left his people in that office, and he brought his staff because he's no longer in crime control strategies, but he's still kind of running it from the chief of department's office. So let's put that in perspective for people so they understand. She was not coming home. Now, I'm going to get a little bit into this Joe Cop rhetoric. Joe Cop knows. They think they know everything about everyone, but know nothing at all. I've seen this. You've been in the locker room. They'll almost get up on the bench and start talking like they know everything, or you hear them from the corner and you're like, wow, what kind, this is like locker room talk, kind of, the Joe Cop. So Joe Cop is trying to say, well, she was coming home from work. Absolutely not. I am 100% confirmed that she was at that Holy Name Society event in Scarsdale, which is very far from where that was in the Taconic Parkway. It's also very hard to come on a highway and go the wrong way on a highway, unless, of course, there's some kind of intoxicant in you. How do I know this, Joel? I've had to go to that scene because, there's a few things that are missing in this. There were multiple agencies there, Joel, and they did try to do what they did here because this isn't, you know why it's an automatic arrest? Any smell of alcohol if EMS, which is emergency medical service, they have to go to this. If they say, I smell alcohol, you must arrest this person. Because, Joel, if this isn't Sergeant Howell, if this is just Jack, we'll say Joe or Jack or John or the average person, you're going to go to jail. And what's disgusting in all of this, Joel, is not only the way this is being handled, which this is, no surprise seeing who this person even belongs to, who she works for, but to see how the Joe cops are trying to defend her, making all kinds of excuses, toxicology report, all this nonsense that the DA is refusing to prosecute when there were people on the scene and the things that were going on in the scene. There was a life that was tragically lost, and Joe Cop doesn't care. They're not even saying anything. They say, oh, well, she was a sergeant, and, I remember when we just took people like this home. And what are you talking about? Someone's dead. An innocent human being is dead that was just going on. Imagine if that's you or your loved one, or you wouldn't be speaking anymore, but your loved one, your relative, your friend gets hit head on a highway, And I know I do take things a little more close to heart because my cousin, who was in the Florida Police Department down here, he was hit head on by a drunk driver on the same kind of road. It was on a highway over here in South Florida, and he perished. Coming home from work when he's working in a police department, a drunk driver hit him head on. So don't tell me this nonsense. I've handled these kind of cases. I think I don't even have an arrest with the accident, but I had to be the technician. I had to show up on the scene. I did all this stuff. Anything like this, automatic arrest. And from what I understand, there were plenty of people there that will tell otherwise of whatever it is Joe Cop wants to run around who thinks they know everything and know nothing at all. Okay, and want to defend her, or they're part of LePetrie's team, which, by the way, Mr. Hansy over there, he likes to go out and party, and there's a lot of booze going on there. So does any of this surprise me? I think the handling this is surprising, Joel, but it's disgusting what some of these people are saying, completely disregarding the loss of life here. And I saw the accident pictures of far worse. So what do you have to say about that?
All right. If we're going to defend that, then why we're not defending all of the cops that have been arrested for DWI? The guy sleeping in his car, right? The guy sleeping in his car because he had too many drinks, right? And we refuse to do a breathalyzer, and then what that means, you get your license suspended and still get arrested, right? It still goes to the same thing. Now, I wasn't there. You wasn't there. None of us was there. But if you're saying that EMS or EMT stated that this Tiffany was actually intoxicated, then why wasn't a breathalyzer offered then? Why wasn't someone saying, hey, why don't we do a breathalyzer? And let her refuse. But then she's automatically, her license suspended, and then she's all automatically arrested, right? Is that the way it goes? Because I think it goes that way. And now, yeah, she has a couple of severe injuries too. I think she had a couple of broken bones, as of what I read. So, but then I guess you're gonna have to wait it out until she gets to the hospital and then remove her blood. But it's gonna be much easier here because she'll find out that her blood result before the job does, because her attorney's probably gonna give her the heads up. What's gonna happen?
We lost Joel for a moment there. We'll wait till he comes back. But I know what he's getting at, and I'm going to tell you what it is. You would offer them a blood test at the hospital, okay? I don't know whether you're incapacitated or not. Then you would write refusal. This is how it goes because I did this, okay? I had to do this. So you would go to hospital, and you would fill out the whole as IDTU paperwork, and you would fill it out. You fill it out by stating all the stuff, whether they're drinking or whatever it was, or whatever you saw, the accident, and then you will write refusal if they don't want to do the blood test. Otherwise, you would have to go for a warrant. Okay? And, here's a good one. Here's Eric Sanders' comment. He's done this a million times, either himself as a cop and represented people and had to go against this. No, arrest based upon observable behavior. Immediately apply for a warrant to seize the blood within the 2-hour window. That is another fact. It has to be done within 2 hours. That is the law, by the way. Joel, all these awards back here, all these idiots at 511. The majorities with DWIs. There was felonies that go with these DWIs. I'm not trying to throw myself in front of everything, but this procedure was not followed, and you have to ask yourself why. And Joel, if this procedure, if someone else is under arrest for this, anybody who's not part of the LePetri circle or not a police officer, would they be treated the same way? Ask yourself that question, Joel. Somebody's also dead because of this. Yeah. Remember.
I think we need to look at it like that. Let's not defend. It's easy to defend the cop, but someone died. Simple as that. Someone died. Now, how does it feel for that family? I mean, if it was because she was intoxicated, her actions, I mean, and we're not, and I guess they're not trying to squeeze the trigger quick enough to arrest her and put this whole show that this cop was intoxicated after leaving this venue. And God knows who was there also, what type of leadership level was in that venue also. But the next question is why didn't, if anyone there that knew her and saw her even a little bit different, a little bit intoxicated, why didn't they offer her a drive home? Why didn't no one offer? Like, you basically let this cop hang by herself. Like, if she's actually drunk and she's driving home and you let her go home, like, you completely failed. Like, you failed as a partner, as a cop to another cop. You could have called a cab, you could have done anything else, but you didn't. Now she lost. I mean, she killed someone. So let's not say that. But if it was an accident, it's an accident, right? But if she killed someone because she was intoxicated, a lot of other people is to blame because you could have called a cab.
Yeah. I mean, look, Tabitha Foster here. Shout out to Tabitha, by the way. She's in the chat. That person that was killed could have been any of us driving. That is why this has to be properly handled. Yeah. And once again, Eric Sanders, again, I'm giving you someone who's the lawyer that knows here. Blood doesn't get thrown out all the time. Often the seizure of blood is late outside of the 2-hour window. That is correct. I've seen cases that instead of making it a felony, becomes a misdemeanor, or a misdemeanor becomes a violation because they use that as their excuse. But technically, their blood could come back at a 1.5, blood alcohol content 0.150, and that would still drive it up. Someone's asking about body cameras. I don't know because it's the state troopers. It was not NYPD personnel there because it's outside of their jurisdiction. So I don't know if they have body cameras or whatnot up there. But this is an incident that people need to look at. And here's another one too. Han says, ever notice how the majority of cops who get into these type of situations are from details, unions, or hierarchy? They think nothing can stop them. You know what? There's a lot to that, what you're saying. There's a lot, because a lot of these people are part of some little cronyism or nepotism circle. But in the same instance, as you see, if you put up the post about that lieutenant that I had said, so this lieutenant, Tavininen, was modified or suspended here, right here. Sergeant, and now he's a sergeant. He was a lieutenant. And apparently had some unwarranted contact with a inappropriate. Yeah. This is an inappropriate or whatever, inappropriate sexual contact with a confidential informant. And there's more information. The information is that the informant went to some investigative agency with this, and that is why this person now is modified. By the way, wherever this person is now, was a court section or whatever, that's very uncomfortable for females around there, knowing females or males, whatever, the people want to be around them because of this. It's scary to think that really happened, and now you just put them with other cops and what prisoners are. I mean, whose brainstorm was that? But what was your quick, just give us a quick thoughts on that one.
Listen, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, he's definitely got the motive. Probably pending criminal charges later on down the line. He's probably gonna. I mean, hopefully he doesn't lose his job. But what are you doing, man, bro? You make 6 figures plus. You can go find yourself a nice girl somewhere. Like seriously, you can find yourself a nice girl somewhere. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. I mean, I don't know what to say. Nothing about Angel because that's not that. You shouldn't be doing that. But whatever. He did what he did. He has to stand on it, and now we'll wait until what the job wants to do with him because that means you can never put him around a CI ever again because he's gonna try to sleep with a CI. He did it once, so what's the assumption that he's not gonna do it again? Or it's gonna be difficult for him. I mean, I wish him well. That's all.
Yeah, this is that one. That one is, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you thought that was as bad as it could have gotten on Friday, then there was news on Saturday, and it's about this raccoon. Can you put up this video, Jack, of the entire incident, or that I reported on? By the way, I reported this at about an hour or whatever, about 50 minutes before the New York.
January 22nd, 2026, at approximately 9 a.m., a 100th precinct sergeant decided it was a good idea with his 2 officers to say, hey, go shoot this raccoon. Obviously, the officers thought better of it, but the sergeant went ahead and did it. Force investigation came, and now this sergeant is currently modified because of his actions. What would possess someone to do something like that? But hey, in New York City right now, and in the police department being run by the soccer mom, anything is possible.
Well, this story is crazy. So the story is that this sergeant in 100 precinct with 2 officers responded to the beach, which, by the way, people aren't really on the beach. Remember, it's really cold in New York City. And they go to the beach. And somebody called this in. Either it was 311 or 911. I saw that also. They said there was a raccoon, I believe, was acting funny or a little not. I don't even know what normal is because you tell me what an animal's behavior patterns are. I'm not an expert in that, and neither are the people that just walk around in the neighborhood. But this thing was on the beach, so these guys show up, and apparently, the patrol guy tells you, and we know this, Joel, that you call ESU, you have animal control, and you better go there with that animal cage. There's a cage that we put animals that you're supposed to try to contain the animal, but you do not engage it. And also, I don't believe you can actually just shoot one either, because you would be discharging your fire. And this guy's 18 years on the job. So this incident is crazy because of once again, what just occurred here. So, Joel, what are your thoughts on this one?
All right. The entirety of the video, we really can't see it, right? We just see whatever the shooting incident. I mean, I don't see anyone near the raccoon. I see the beach behind the raccoon, and I see the officers around the raccoon. To me, that looks like an isolate and contain area, right? I mean, ESU should be responding to that location. And if you had this job before, because I did have this job before, we had a raccoon at a shopping area. And actually, in the 114, when I was even a cop, a raccoon in Astoria in Steinway, major shopping area. We had a mesh, and we contained it in the corner and waited for ESU to come. But there was hundreds of pedestrians there. So but it says, I mean, I read the patrol guide procedure on this. I think it's 221. 22101, I think bullet G, where it states if you can egress, your last resort, if it's causing PI to anyone or yourself, that's when you can discharge your firearm. Not at any moment I saw this raccoon attempt or causing PI to anyone else. And this is probably the reason why they modified them, right? When FID showed up to the scene and looked at it and like, well, there was no one there. Why did you shoot him? right? And I mean, it looks bad, but we just, I mean, yeah, it's a raccoon. Who cares? Well, the city cares. You can't just discharge your weapon at any time. That's
Yeah,
not the way it operates. The city, we're not in the countryside. Like we're in the city. Yeah, the beach is empty. And then that's more of a reason why you should have never shot then. If
yeah,
you're gonna use the excuse, oh, there was nobody on the beach, well, you should have never shot it then. We can see the raccoon on the body cam. We can see it. It's going around in circles. It's the distance from them. He approaches the raccoon and discharges weapon. We, whatever. There's rumors is that he ordered the officers to do the shooting, and the officers denied. I mean, that's something that's going to be probably brought up in the GO, and questions later on. But the modification, that's a heavy modification. I mean, but he's a young sergeant, probably gonna get demoted now. We're gonna go right back to PO. Hopefully, I hope, and I hope this job doesn't try to remove him before he hits his 20th. I hope they don't put him through the ringer and say, "Hey, we're gonna remove you from the
yeah.
job now, so you don't get your full pension," because they're capable of doing that. And
I know.
this guy, nah, he
Well,
probably gonna get demoted, and there's no criminal charges out of this. This is only a patrol guy procedure. I mean, he's probably looking at 30 in a year or 30, whatever, and hopefully he can go forward from there. But I don't
yes,
know.
it was. I don't think this was. You're going against the patrol guide.
Yeah.
Can we put up this patrol guide? I have this actual procedure of this patrol guide procedure. So I'm going to show everybody that we know what we're talking about. I'm going to zoom in on the top part and then the G. Uniformed members of service are authorized under New York state law to discharge a firearm to prevent or terminate the unlawful use of force that may cause death or serious physical injury, taking into account the below prohibitions imposed by the department. Members of the service shall not, and you go down to bullet G, which is right here, discharge firearm at a dog or other animal except to protect a member of the service or another person present from imminent physical injury, and there is no opportunity to retreat or other reasonable means to eliminate the threat. Joel, does that match what went on there? I mean, you saw the camera, you saw the body camera. Was that a threat to them or anyone else around?
No.
All right. So when Joe Cop says they know again, I know everything. Is Joe Cop right about that, or is this Joe Cop spewing their mouth and then go the minute now remember this? Joe Cop's your best friend until you're in trouble. Then they're the first one right in the court. I told you, you didn't follow the rules. I told you, but you just told them to not follow the rules. Now you say to follow rules. There's the Joe Cops for you, Joel.
No, I mean, anyone that's put in that situation, like I said, we don't know if that sergeant felt threatened. I'm not him. I wasn't there. But in that video, clearly looks like they're distance away from that raccoon. And it clearly looks like that raccoon is just going through whatever episode is going through. It shouldn't be out during the day anyway. But it is. So there's something wrong with the raccoon. But ESU should be called.
Yep.
ESU should be called. Now that's the next question. Did you notify ESU? Because that's what they're gonna ask him on the GO. Was ESU notified?
The animal
Right?
cage. The animal cage has to also be.
Yeah. The animal cage. Was the animal cage in your vehicle? Did you request it? And it's gonna be a lot of.
Oh, look, Eric says it best here. There are animal cruelty charges that are available if they charge. Maybe the department doesn't train to respond in that manner, and also we need to stop excusing the crap behavior. Listen, I hate to say it because you never want to bash on someone or one of your brethren, but again, that is bad behavior. I mean, now if that thing charged at you, whatever, so be it. If you call the SU while waiting, the thing acts out. But to do that, that's a horrible. It's just I don't know where that would come from or what he was thinking. But again, I'll have to answer for his own actions. But speaking of Eric Sanders, so as you know, last time he was on a week ago, we had this whole letter that came from whistleblowers, right? Well, guess what? There was another one that came into us. So I'm going to break this down in a couple of paragraphs here. So on January 25th, 2026 at 1612, that is the time. So it's 412. This was emailed to Eric Sanders' firm. All right, this letter. So we'll read a little bit about this. Eric, what you also missed is the fact that said executive from the academy allowed the the principal to do overtime even during her meal and allowed her to run his office. Also, speaking about the academy, did you know that Chief Lola Obi isn't as innocent as she leads on? First thing is that she was a part of the Underground Railroad crew. She was promoted and given the academy because she was and still is very good friends with the former chief of department, Jeffrey Mandry. They studied for the bar together and passed it together. Oh, yeah. She gave him an office in the police academy, which was for him to, quote, study, end quote. Yet Detective Ingrid Sanders was with him pretty much every time. There was another boom room with a pull-out couch, compliments of his bestie, Lola Obi. Look at her moves and promotion, except for the COT one she has now. He has been quietly taking care of her for years. I'm going to stop there first for a minute. Joel, what do you got to say about that one so far?
These are new accusations. I mean, there's someone needs to, I guess IAB or whoever needs to investigate this and look into it. If this is actually even close to true, I mean, yeah, group one, because that's who's going to investigate it anyway.
Oh.
And if this is actually even true, then there's a lot of questions needs to happen. But I'm going to say here, if these accusations are true, I mean, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. It's a big problem because
did you know
only.
The boom room? I don't know.
I honestly didn't know there was a boom room in the academy, but that's something new to us, and that's something for us to investigate, right? I mean, if that is actually true.
So there's more to this. I get back to this now. The Patrol Borough Manhattan North promotion was given to her during Mandry's short stay as chief of patrol when the power shifted and the corruption period began. Mandry became the chief of department and he influenced her promotion to chief of training. She keeps it hush, but look at her timeline versus his. She gave him a boom room at the freaking academy. I don't know how this slipped under everyone's radar. And if you look closely at some of the actions lately, she is still very good friends with him. Do not sleep on her and her ways of doing stuff shows. This past week was a holiday party. Through her little puppets, she pressured people to purchase tickets to the party. Even Chief O'Sullivan pressured people to the point where, as it's going around, that he purchased a table or two to make Obi look good. She oversees a bureau full of TEAs. They make no money, yet felt the pressure to buy $175 tickets to the point that certain traffic managers set up payment plans to encourage ticket sales. Corruption. Talk and speak about this. We'll stop there. What do you think about that one?
Well, we need a whistleblower. Let's get him out there and let's see if this is actually true. And if this is true, if there's some type of payment plan to purchase tickets, that's tough. That's crazy. That's another problem, right? Because now we're getting people that don't have the money to now be forced to go to an event where they have to now sit there and I guess be fake the entire time.
Sounds like Chief Stevenson stuff. That's what he was doing, right? Chief
right. Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
He's no longer the party chief, but he's part of the Crumbs crew, which is I guess they call here the Underground Railroad. We call it the Crumbs crew because there's so many of those people. So then they went on. They thanked, they wanted this shared specifically with this show also. So it goes on. It says, let's talk about LePetri. Whatever happened to the situation of him sleeping with Detective Morgan Uthlinzerger from his office when he was in CCS, that's Crime Control Strategies for you all. Her husband showed up at the office and made a scene. One thing changed after that. No more closed-door meetings with Morgan. Everyone knows about that, so him getting handsy sounds about right. He has a history of being unfit for duty at holiday parties in the past and dancing rather inappropriately. I was there at his last party, and the story is 100% true, which is what I reported on. I saw with my own eyes. What is Tish, a.k.a. the soccer mom, doing? Oh, and overtime. Units are finding creative ways of getting their overtime for cops and uniformed bosses, including stating on their slips that they are doing details, etc., and not especially pretty much everyone who works closely and consider them these bosses' crew. Check it out. The NYPD is corrupt. And also they had a post, and it was this post from the NYPD Guardians, and it had Madry and Obi together from April 24, 2024. And it said, congratulations to our brother and sister, Chief Madry and Chief Obi, on passing the New York State bar exam. So that's what this letter stated. I guess there's more to come. Now, remember, these are accusations that are coming straight to Eric Sanders and his firm, and we're sharing it because it wanted to be shared with us. So what are your thoughts on that before we go to the final topic, which itself is crazy?
Well, the LaPetri stories. I mean, everyone heard about the LaPetri story, about someone approaching him in his office about sleeping with his wife. I mean, that's a big problem. Having dinner at the man's house and behind the door you're banging his wife is I mean, these are all accusations, rumors, but that just defines who he is, right? That defines that person.
These are allegations.
To move forward with she did pass her bar exam, I believe, Obey. And I guess she's the only uniform member, like the only chief right now with her bar, I think, with her bars, passing the bar with her lawyer license. This is kind of throwing me off because I kind of looked at Obey, Galata, or Rivera, as many people were probably going to disagree, as the next chief of department after Petri leaves the department. And he'll probably leave in 3/4 anyway, when everything plays out.
Well, yeah, Eric Sanders is saying this is true. Remember, the letter writer claims they were present for both parties. So they were present for this LaPetri party where he was very handsy, and then the soccer mom shows up and she's there and she's watching it and then escorts him out. And we don't know, from that moment on, she sent them home, but she was present for this, which makes this even worse. This incident that happened at the DL, 95 Delancey Street. That might be the new Consofrito for all we know. But that incident, now we have someone who's a witness to it. They claim to be a witness, and they wrote this letter. And it also backtracks to the entire party with Madry and everything going on at the police academy. I mean, this is bombshell stuff that we're breaking. Yeah. And these are whistleblowers. And, people should look into these things instead of ignoring it, soccer mom. You want to ignore everything. This is your police department. What are you doing?
Yeah. So the police department. I mean, if the commissioner wants to do something right, I think the best thing to do is remove every 3-star from their position, send them on their way, and start fresh. Everyone there is complicit. Everyone there knew what was going on in the previous administration, and no one did anything. And yeah, it's okay to feel a certain way, but if you knew what was going on and you knew how many cops were getting destroyed and you knew people were getting promoted behind the scene and you knew people were getting paid, they were paying to get promoted, and it was acceptable as lawsuits are coming out stating the same thing, that people were paying for promotions, and now you have other scandals erupting under your administration, under you as the PC, is to let you know that the bad apples are still lingering around in your basket. Yep. You need to get rid of them. You need to get rid of all of them.
Speaking of this, right? And is the thing I wanted to have this up here on purpose. Speaking of failures, speaking of failing upwards, did you hear about Kaz Daughtry now working for Homeland Security?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's put this up. This is officially from Homeland Security. I remember he was the deputy mayor of public safety, and then the deputy commissioner that had so much stuff happen to him. Let's put this up on the screen with Kaz Daughtry. This thing that just came up. This is from the New York Post. Daughtry will serve as a political appointee within the Department of Homeland Security. Did you know about that one? Did you hear
I
this?
didn't. I didn't know until now. Thanks.
He,
Wow.
he he's gonna he's gonna serve in the Department of Homeland Security. Just so you know, if you remember, way back, right around Christmas, right before Christmas, did I not tell everyone that he had interviewed, or he's trying to interview for the deputy director position of former NYPD, great cop when nobody knows what he did in the NYPD, Dan Bongino. And now you hear that he's in Homeland Security, right? Isn't that wild, Joel?
That's
But
wild.
to give you a little bit on this, a little bit more, because he's been on top of this, is the producer, the co-host. He does it all on the Sal Greco Show. Jack Stern, welcome on the stage, Jack. What are your thoughts on this one? I know you got a little bit more on this.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about this and then we'll get into some of the topics that you guys touched on earlier real quick before we move on to Sam Darnold playing in the Super Bowl. Who had that on our bingo card? But anyway, with Kaz, the craziest thing about him being promoted is he's now working for a part of the tri-state area which he has never overseen in a law enforcement capacity. Isn't that crazy? Overseeing Suffolk County, and he spent the entirety of his law enforcement career in New York City. And also, he worked with NYPD, and then he essentially worked for New York City as well. So he's now covering a jurisdiction that he has never covered professionally. It's crazy. It's like, Joel, if you worked in transit your entire career, and then all of a sudden you were promoted to a chief role and you're overseeing the housing department. How does that make any sense?
Right. It doesn't make any sense, but it seems like so I'm going to give you a little example of how leaderships, they kind of move their way around with this. So as a leader, say I worked in transit and I'm very familiar with the transit system, right? I am an executive for the whole transit system. And then I become a chief in housing. I have no idea of what goes on in housing. So my job is to put certain pieces there that know the housing system, that I can depend on to know what exactly goes on in housing. I'm clueless, but hopefully my subordinate pieces that I have added on to my administration or my team should know what goes on in housing. And that's exactly what I'm assuming is happening here. But let's look at it like this. This guy's part of a cronyism. He's part of a crony system, and he just got another position. Kudos for him, man. I mean, the guy's gifted. He's gifted with with cronies, man.
Look at this, Joel. He actually put out a post on LinkedIn on Saturday afternoon thanking Dan Scavino. Thank you, Dan. Honored to join the Trump administration and serve with ICE Gov, Homeland Security, NYC in New York. That's incorrect, by the way, because he's actually working in Long Island. Unsurprising that Kaz got something else wrong. Special thanks to President real Donald Trump and Secretary known for the opportunity, ready to make America safe again. Really not sure how he's making America safe again. Also, he made New York City unsafe when he was deputy mayor for public safety. Also, when he was a detective, he was never trained in doing investigations, yet he was promoted 3 times. Do people do resume checks anymore when they make hiring decisions, or they just clap? And
there's no credentials here.
Resumes based on face value evaluations. Also, Kaz was named in Homeland Security's trailblazers, top 30 law enforcement professionals in the country, and it said that he had made 50 arrests in his first 6 months on the job in the 7-3. Is that true? I didn't think that was factually accurate either.
Well, it depends, because I think he came in during the impact era, impact era. So in the impact era, it was quotas during that time. So I believe I was in PSA 2 at that moment. I think he was in the 7-3, and we were told hey, 2, 10, and 15. That was the number they were requesting behind the scene. And I guess in patrol they wanted 5, 10, 20. So it was pretty. So we don't know. I mean, he probably just went above and beyond.
We had initially reported right here on the Sal Greco Show that he was gunning for the deputy director of the FBI position, which was left vacant by Dan Bongino's departure. This is kind of a soft landing spot, especially because Suffolk County has not exactly been at the forefront of the deportation efforts in New York City, even in the tri-state area, in the same way that New Jersey or Queens or Brooklyn or even parts of northern Westchester County have been. So, he's not really going to be in the public spotlight in this role. This is maybe a way for him to endear himself to the Trump administration in hopes of landing something else. That's my take. Because Kaz is a master at failing upwards, as Sal attested to earlier on in the segment, right? Like, he gets promoted to detective, then he moves up in grade despite being taken off the street and put in an administrative post. It's like every single step of the way he failed upwards. He becomes deputy mayor of public safety after being deputy commissioner. Now he's in a federal role. The next thing you know, in 2 years, guys, he's going to have an even better job.
You never know. Listen, I already thought what the FBI thing was crazy, but he's in that realm of being in the protected class, in the Grumsh class. I just want to know if he still has NYPD plaque, because his name came up. You might have to give that back, buddy. You got that. Well, the soccer mom, I don't know what she's doing. She's asleep at the wheel with a lot of stuff, but there's placards missing. This guy is nowhere to be found. His buddy also running around when she goes to meet radio personalities. There's a plaque on that guy's car.
Jeez.
Just wild stuff going on in the police department. And now in the federal government. It's funny, he lands in Homeland Security. Why doesn't he go to Minneapolis, go train those guys? Oh, that's right. He doesn't know any police tactics because he never really did anything. By the way, they handed him those arrests, just so you know. You can have arrests, but those arrests could be assigned to you. Yeah. He was just driving around Jeffrey Madry for like a long time. Where did he make arrests? Where do you have time to make arrests? Right,
ladies and gentlemen, let us also remind you that he was the main liaison between former Mayor Eric Adams and Tom Homan when President Trump ramped up the deportation efforts in New York City. So this is someone who's job jumping, networking, and looking to social climb at each step of the way. He's probably going to end up doing it again, too.
This is crazy. Joel, I don't know if you have any last thoughts, because I know, Jackson, I want to get to a couple other things. So, Joel, I got any last thoughts before I let you go and enjoy your rest of the day?
No, I got nothing else. I mean, if Jack has anything else to ask me, I can go forward.
Yeah, I have one more question for you. And this is a really tough question to ask, but between the DUI arrests or the DUI processing that's kind of taking place right now and the raccoon that was shot, which incident would you categorize as worse?
The DWI. I mean, that is so much worse. The raccoon is more like administratively. I think Eric Sanders said it best. I think the job would never go forward and try to like criminally charge this sergeant. It's part of the patrol guy procedure. So I guess they're gonna just administratively bang him over the head. And he's 18 years on the job. He probably was planning to do 25. And he's probably gonna get demoted now. He's probably looking at 20 years and now leaving now because it's not worth staying anymore. I mean, did they make it? Is this a big deal? Well, it depends on who's looking at it. From what side of the optics are you looking at it, right? Are you allowed? Are we gonna just walk around and start shooting animals? That's one side, and then the other side is, this animal came at me, and this is what I was scared of, and that's it. Who's gonna win that battle? I think the city's gonna win. They're gonna be like, listen, you can't just come out here and be shooting raccoons. That's not the way we operate, especially in the city. It's not the way things go. The DWI thing is pretty serious because someone died. I mean, we're not even acknowledging that someone just lost their life in this car accident. That's the biggest thing. Like, forget about everything else. Forget about if that was a cop or not. If it was any other civilian that did that, the first thing we would have done is probably we would have went the whole entire way with this. If it was a regular person, we would have went the entire way with this. I mean, someone just died. Like, someone's gonna have to bury their grandfather or their father. I don't know, like the 61-year-old man that was probably just driving home, lost his life.
One final thing with that one, just so people understand, this sergeant was actually modified, but allegedly they were suspended and then changed from being suspended to modified. That's another little a little nugget that only this show knows.
But that comes down through operation. I'm sorry, Jack, not to cut you off, but that comes through operation, right? They can change it. They're allowed to change it, right? They're allowed to change the order. They're allowed to change the order. Hey, suspended, now modify, right? So why was she suspended in the first place? right?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
was she suspended in the first place? And then now you want to modify her.
At some point, the department's going to have to get a lot more serious about clamping down on drunk driving, because I know Scott Monroe and the DEA had arranged for that program to collaborate with Uber so that if anyone had gone out and drank, they could get an Uber or whatever. But they're really not taking drunk driving seriously enough, given the number of members of the department who are involved in drunk driving incidents. A couple months ago, there was that inspector who was involved in a drunk driving incident. I think he was 2 months away from retiring. He tried to delete the camera photo. There was a drunk driving incident recently, which resulted in a fatality, of course. So it's like, you know, they're very good about some matters, not violent crime, of course, but some matters, and they're just not taking drunk driving seriously enough, and it's resulting in fatalities. And regardless of how you look at it, Joel, nothing good ever comes out of drunk driving. Whether you or don't. You're putting your life.
Can I give this guy's name? I want someone asked in the chat.
Yeah, I'll get his name.
Marvin Boitel is the victim, 61 years old. They actually have a GoFundMe page for people to support him, his widows, and his son. 30 years as a doorman, planning to retire. 42 years he was married.
Wow.
Just so people understand. This is a terrible incident. And, you know, again, you got to have some kind of accountability here. But, you know, if you're
Sal, there was an incident prior to this. I think it happened in 2023, where this on 87, on Highway 87 going northbound, I think on the other side of like Rockland area, there was a detective that worked in, I think, the chief of department, I think domestic violence, and he did the same thing. I guess he was drunk and he ran over a female driving a motorcycle with her husband. Right, he ends up killing her. Same situation. He got the heads up. The problem that I saw with this, that he got the heads up that his blood came back with above the alcohol, I guess over 0.8. Yeah, 0.08.
Yeah.
And he went and put his papers in. And by the time the job got the paperwork from the state, he was already leaving out the door, and he was able to retire. He vested out and got away with his pension. He ends up getting sentenced, I think 7 years after the fact, but he retired with his pension. But they gave him, he ends up making a deal for like 6 months. I don't really got the whole story, but I know he did like 6 months because I actually saw him working construction now, but he still receives his pension, because when I ran into him, I asked him, he's like, yeah, everything's good. I'm receiving my pension in 5 more years. So hear how this plays out. Now, this probably be the same situation if this comes out to be with this young lady or with Tiffany. If this happens to Tiffany, and no one's gonna end up saying anything, this will just probably get, you know, swept under the rug, and we'll just keep moving forward from there on. I mean, these are horrific. This is a horrific incident. I mean, I feel bad for the family. I mean, yeah, 2 people's lives was destroyed, but the worst person destroyed was the person that lost his life, and probably the provider in that family.
And it's an innocent fatality. All he was doing was driving home, doing the right thing. He was totally sober. He wasn't driving erratically. He wasn't going above the speed limit. Yet his life was taken because someone decided to drink and drive. That's the quintessential problem here. And some people will say, oh, I can have 1 beer, I can have 1 mixed drink, I can be totally fine. I don't subscribe to that theory at all, because even if you're below the legal limit, you're still legally impaired. Also, you don't know what's going to happen, Joel, when you're on the road. I mean, for example, with me, when I'm driving down my street, sometimes there's little kids who like to ride their bikes, and they'll go across the street in the middle of the street. If I'm driving drunk, I may not be able to react to that as quickly. So the bottom line is, you're impaired. You're not as knowledgeable about what's going on. You're not as attentive to the roadway, and it's a problem for yourself and everyone around you. In that sense, the best thing that can happen is if you kill yourself, because at least you're not killing other people, right? I mean, I'm just very against drunk driving all the way around.
And that's another tragedy if you even kill yourself. But I mean, you know, you took it upon yourself, right?
Yeah, well,
you took it upon yourself. But
I was the top DWI guy in the NYPD once. You don't got to tell me more than one time about how bad DWI is. Although at one time, I'm not going to mention names, but somebody in NYPD told me that was a hypocritical arrest, and you could take that for whatever it's worth. I wonder what that guy and the people that person surrounded himself with were doing during off-duty hours. But that's a whole nother subject for another day. Jack, what else you got if you want to, if you have anything for Joel?
Yeah, Joel, let's go over a couple more things because I know you have some experience going down in the subway system as well. There was a video that went viral over the weekend. First, we'll show you the one from New York City, and then without audio, we'll show you the one from Chicago as well, just as a point of comparison. But this is what is going on down in the subway system. A homeless person who appeared to not have a place to sleep at night put up a sheet and was literally sleeping on the far benches, as you guys can see here on your screen in the video, creating her own little enclave on the subway system. You know it's New York because no one's paying any attention to what's going on. They're just casually sitting there and relaxing, going about their day. One man kind of turns over and laughs a little bit, but there's clearly no homeless enforcement down in the subway, and we're not doing enough to make people feel safe on the subway because if a homeless person is sitting there with a sheet covering them, you don't know what they have in their possession. They could have a knife, they could have a gun, they could have a weapon, they could have pepper spray, they could be planning to do something crazy, and you can't even see it because they're hiding behind the curtain. When are we going to create better options and alternatives for homeless people where they're not scared to sleep in the shelters because the shelters are so violent, and they've resorted to now sleeping down in the subway where they're disturbing other people?
Well, sleeping in the subway is I mean, from the time I was a kid and I used to take the train, people used to always sleep on the subway, right? This encampment, I'm gonna call it that I guess their own system there. I don't know what time. It doesn't show the time of the what time this is occurring, but this is normal. If that's not there, that's happening on a platform, right? Because if you're taking the train at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, there's people laid out on every train, right? Yeah, I mean, how many? And let's think about this. How many cops are we gonna have going into every subway system or every train cart, and to remove homeless people from sleeping, right? It's 10 degrees outside. And I think somehow it's easier for them to go downstairs and sleep in the subway system than sleeping outside and freezing to death. Because the worst thing that New Yorkers hate is having a dead body frozen outside. It's okay it's okay to have it acceptable in a subway system and sleeping on a train, but that's my only issue. That hey, this is not this is not something nice to see on a train. Because if I paid to get on a train and I wanted to see, how about that train was crowded and I wanted a chair? How about if I just worked 16 hours, right? And I wanted to take a seat and I couldn't sit in that section of the train. But this is nothing. Crack is being smoked on the train. Urination in public, they're urinating on a train freely, and they don't really care. They don't care. Like, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna confront them and then get into a fight and then risk your life, right?
Joel, what are you talking about? Crime is down. Crime is down. The soccer mom says crime is down, and she shows you all kind of numbers that I don't know Michael LePetri might be playing with and changing and doing things. And while he's also being handsy with people in the office, and of course, Mamdani, who we all thought was going to bring, we were told Sharia law was coming to New York City. He's busy right now shoveling snow. He can't go and, correct this situation. And hey, don't forget, we got to send more cops in the transit while they're supposed to be working in patrol precincts because a certain female has to be elected governor, the friend of the police commissioner. So, hey, this whole thing might be AI for all we know, Jack. What else? What other video? Yeah, and I got something else too.
Yeah, before we get to the second video, I want to touch on this point as it relates to Minnesota because on Saturday afternoon, Mayor Zoran Mamdani, before he went out and shoveled snow and forgot about what was going on in Minnesota, put out a tweet as tens of thousands across America protest the violence that ICE sows with impunity. Federal agents shot and killed another person in Minneapolis today. ICE terrorizes our cities. ICE puts us all in danger. Abolish ICE. So this is a very important conversation to have because Mamdani, Jacob Frey, all of these liberal blue city politicians are saying we need to abolish ICE. We need to get rid of the agency. But none of them really want to abolish ICE because if we do abolish ICE, that means that we're not going to be deporting the violent criminals who are terrorizing the residents of their city. So they don't actually want ICE abolished. They just want to say that they should get rid of the agency. They should sideline it for the time being. They should get rid of it eventually down the line, but they're not actually doing anything to do those things. They just want to create more division and conflict and divide. So we forget about the fact that our rents aren't frozen. Joel, your rent in New York City is not frozen. Not yet anyway, because Mamdani's done nothing to freeze it. The cost of groceries has not gone down because there's no city-owned grocery stores. Bus service is not free either. So he's not actively working toward any of the things he actually campaigned on. So instead, he just comes out with this performative rhetoric, which is a distractor, and he's not actually doing anything. We're not fooled here.
No, I'm going to tell you this before, Joel.
Yeah.
This guy always talks about national issues. Meanwhile, he was shoveling snow for the cameras. Do I need to say anything else? The guy doesn't know how to be a manager, a governor of something. I told you all that, but hey, you still voted. 51% you voted for this. So what do you want from me? I can only hope the guy does a good job.
How do you get noticed? How do you get noticed, Sal? You got to get on TikTok feeds, man. Right? This guy has that's a great TikTok video. But think about it. Mamdani Snow, the mayor of New York is shoveling snow. Is that a great video for New Yorkers to like?
Yeah.
Right? Right? Is that a great? How many views you think he had? Right? I mean, that's the whole image that he's trying to portray. Like the whole thing you said. Like, I don't even know why it is a national incident. Like, if you want to look at that, yeah, that ICE incident was like a national news. But let's focus on New York. Let's focus on New York City. We have bigger issues here. You know, there's a lot of things happening, and we need to resolve our issues first. I mean, the universal child care, I think that's something that he promised, and I think he's pushing that through with Hoku, and that's something that's pretty big. It helps everyone. I mean, I'm not agreeing with him or disagreeing with him at all, because he just started a month in. And I remember when Trump got in and Trump started doing things, no one jumped the gun. We shouldn't be jumping the gun on no politician in the first month. In 6 months, if nothing goes on, then we should be criticizing him instantly, because, well, we're going to have to start holding them accountable, because what's going on in the NYPD now, you know, you got people that got promoted to certain positions, and now they're having affairs with their subordinates that we are starting to find out, and sleeping in hotels or being spotted in hotels. That is actually disturbing too, because if this is happening, what else is happening behind the scene that we don't know, right? Like there's probably an incident that's occurring in One Police Plaza right now that we should all know about. Right, Sal? I mean, do you know anything that's going on? I mean, you brought it up. I would like to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a sensitive matter. I did show this on on my own feed that we're investigating. There's a sensitive matter that happened to have occurred in One Police Plaza. It looks allegedly Special Victims is on the case. As much as I'll say, DCPI has refused to comment on any of this stuff or, speak about this. So, again, there's a lot going on at One Police Plaza, just a lot going on under the soccer mom. And things are being looked at from all angles, from all different kinds of things. So it's a good thing you reminded me about that one. But that's another thing that we are investigating, and we're looking into further. But that's as much as I have for the moment.
I mean, Sal, if you're saying special victims involved, then that's scary. That says enough. So if this ever comes out, or when it comes out, it's scary and disturbing anyway. But that's something that we should just wait on until the facts come out. But we have to protect people anyway. So that's one thing. I mean, we can go. I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot going on. We should just wait to see what's going to happen with Mamdani in the next couple of months to see how things are going to turn out. I mean, I guess the kids wasn't happy that they had to do a virtual school day today. And he did state that if kids should throw snowballs at him, that he won't be mad. Like, that's what he said. So
did he give them a time and a place where they could throw snowballs at him? That would be a very Mamdani thing to do.
But that's what I said. I said, if you really wanted, to humanize your residents, so your people in the city, why don't you pick a location where young kids can throw snowballs at you, right? I mean, but that's different, man. You know, but that's what he said. He said it, not I. He said it himself. So
I say, listen, we covered a lot of things, but Joel, you know, it was great to have you on. I'd love to have you back on in the future. You never know what else could occur, but great. Thank you for your time, your take on things, and people can follow you at LT_Ramirez on X. Correct?
Right, that's correct.
All right.
Joel, enjoy, guys. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you very much for being.
There's his X for anyone who wants to go follow him for all good news, bad news, breaking news, good takes, bad takes, and everything in between. That is Joel Ramirez, ladies and gentlemen. Joel, we look forward to having you back on soon.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Sal.
Sure. There you have it, Jack. Any last words from you before we call it a day here?
Yeah, so as a sad Jets fan, I kind of commiserated yesterday because we're either going to have to root for the New England Patriots or we're going to have to root for Sam Darnold. Between the two, I think you have to root for Sam Darnold because no quarterback, not even Tom Brady or Phillip Rivers or any of the greats who did it, could have gone to the New York Jets and succeeded. I mean, look at all the career adversity the guy had to go through, playing for 5 different teams, getting kicked to the curb last year by Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota after having a really good season. It's a great comeback story, and I hope the Seahawks win the Super Bowl.
My picks made it to the final. So far, the only thing I've been wrong with, of course, was the Hurricanes last week. But I will say, at this moment right now, I don't know what the line is or everything. I'm going to actually pick the Patriots to win the Super Bowl as of right now. As we get closer, we'll see if that changes. But I think the Patriots have a Cinderella season. Say what you want. I mean, the Seahawks are a strong team. I think they're stronger defensively than they are offensively. The Rams, big offensive team, like to play shootout-style football, so you saw one yesterday. I think it's going to completely change when it's New England and Seattle on the field. So we'll wait and see with that one. But that was a good game over the weekend. There was a snow-filled game in Denver, but without their quarterback who was gone, what'd you expect? Did you really think that they could fester any kind of fight with their starting quarterback on who won all those games for him? So, you know, it's a shame.
They did come close. Remember, it was a 10-7 game with the Broncos having a 4th and 1 deep in New England territory, and Sean Payton probably has his worst play call of the year when he calls a pass play where Stidham just lobs the ball up in the air, not by any of the receivers. If you kick a field goal there, the game's tied. Maybe it goes to overtime. Things are a little bit different. Typical weather conditions in Denver, too. Sunny and in the 50s to start, and then snowing by the very end. Dogfight of an AFC championship game, but the end of the day, it's going to be very hard to win without your starting quarterback in this league. And Mike Vrabel definitely outcoached Sean Payton in the end. Congratulations to both teams. Congratulations to the Seahawks, who are 4.5-point favorites in the Super Bowl. I don't think I've seen a team go from being kind of in no man's land with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll to back to being elite the way the Seahawks are under Mike McDonald now making the Super Bowl in year 2. Same with Mike Vrabel in New England in year 1. Goes to show how having a different coaching staff and different leadership in the building can change the trajectory of your franchise. It's going to be a very good game, and I'm happy that we don't have to see the Chiefs in it either.
Yeah, I remember too. I wasn't a big fan of that team anyway, but we'll see what happens. That's football for you. We'll wait the 2 weeks. I guess that'll be all. There's a lot that we said here. You know, division via political agendas continues, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail. That's my bottom line here. So from South Florida, which is a record 86 or 87 degrees today for this date overall, as far as weather being tracked by, humanity. It's a record-setting day here in Florida. As far as the snow, I hope you guys are shoveling. I'm dying. You're going to go shovel some people's snow in New York City and elsewhere. But we'll see you on Thursday. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for everyone in the comments. Before I leave, there's one last, but I didn't forget. Frankie Palaguacci, $9.99 the Sal Greco Show. Thank you guys for keeping us informed. Support the show, and God bless. And God bless you, Frankie. So to all of you out there, I hope you have a good rest of your Monday. We'll see you on Thursday at 11:05. So until then, we're signing off from South Florida, which, as you know, is a sunny place for shady people.
What I'm asking New Yorkers for is to look back at all the things I've done as a deputy commissioner for operations, as assistant commissioner, and my time as a not only as a New Yorker but as a police officer. I get stuff done.
Listen, there was a book that came out that Jasmine Ray wrote. And in the Daily News today, it was stated that there was a sexual action that happened in Borough Hall. She reported in that book. And it wasn't. You're a dark, sick person, man. You know that? You're a dark, sick person. Your name was on the byline. And there's some of you that have been covering me. You guys could part. Let me do this. Y'all could depart. Y'all could depart. Some of you have been covering me for 3.5 years. Some of you are so sick and dark, and you're the leader of that. You're one of the most dark writers that I've ever seen in this city. And your personal sick vendetta and the sickness of how you think of over-sexualizing a black man, that in the book is stated that there was a sexual action in Borough Hall. That was never in the book. But that's typical of the sickness and the darkness of your sick mind. You're one of the sickest reporters I know. Go to the next question. You're a sick person.